The Labour movement has launched a new initiative to support fresh graduates through every step of their journey towards their first or second jobs. The framework will provide more targeted help for students who are making the transition from school to work. This is in order to address job security early on. Ivy Chalk with more.
Business analytics major Brian Lee began looking for a job before he graduated. He sent out more than 100 applications before he finally landed his first job. The whole process took 9 months. Mr. Lee says there's a gap between the skills he picked up in school compared to what companies want.
There is a very huge expectation mismatch where companies are expecting you to learn these types of tools, this repertoire of tools, which you have never been exposed to in school. And I would say that the business focus in university is really lacking, which makes candidates much less employable.
The Labour movement aims to help fresh graduates like Mr. Lee while they're still in school. Firstly, students will receive advice on what jobs could suit them, and even help in writing resumes. They will also meet employers directly through interviews and networking sessions. As they progress in their careers, they will also get access to mentors as well. These could help address concerns like the skills gap, especially with greater global economic uncertainty.
The rapid changes in the nature of work. The new technologies like artificial intelligence reshaping industries, changing how the job looks like. Even as you are studying and you are going out doing your internships and your attachments, the employers, the supervisors will be explaining to you how their job and the job that they are supervising you in is changing as we speak.
The Employment and Employability Institute is also working closer with schools to equip students with more resources.
We are also in discussion with E2I where we could also, as a university, we could actually serve their career mentors in terms of upgrading their professional skill sets. This is also a possibility. In terms of corporates, in our university, when we design curriculum as well as the experiential learning programs, we have always got the industry in mind.
The Labour movement says these moves are meant to help young people be employable, as well as secure and sustain meaningful careers from an early stage.
And for more, I'm now joined by Arlene Lim, consultant at the Singapore Human Resources Institute. Ms. Lim, welcome to the program.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
So our reporter had the chance to speak to some young people who said that it is taking them up to about 6 months to actually find a job. I mean, what are some of the reasons behind this?
I think this is more of a systemic problem. It's not just young people that are having problems finding jobs, but also older workers in transition. But I think young workers are particularly feeling the challenge now because, you know, they've gone into university and spent a lot of time and effort and being told that maybe their skills are not quite applicable. And so this is the gap between what is needed out in the workforce and the skills they're coming in with. And that's where you find that, you know, closing that gap will take a bit of time.
So you're talking about this mismatch of skills, right? But I also want to touch on the specific industries where this delay is more pronounced for these young people. What would they be?
Okay, if you look at what's happening in a lot of businesses, right, with digital transformation, what you're seeing is that AI and robotic process automation is taking away a lot of repetitive, mundane work. So jobs that were typically considered entry level for young graduates are now less available. Even in the technological space, like software programming, you'll find that now you need less people to do the same number of the same task. So the number of entry-level roles have also reduced. And even in creative roles like and digital marketing and, you know, jobs like that, you'll find that a lot of Gen AI is able to do that first cut of work. So a lot of employers are not really looking for people who can do that mundane task, but they're looking for people who know how to use the output from AI and apply that into strategic applications.
So you were talking about AI speeding up this rate of change, and of course the concern about this perceived gap, right? About between the skills of these young people and the expectations of the employers. What advice then would you give these young people?
As a mother of 3 young children entering the workforce, I always say you have to think about your skills on 2 levels. Firstly, you need to have your core competencies, what makes you human, your ability to think critically, your ability to communicate, and your ability to collaborate. Right? And then you also have the second layer of skills, which is your technical ability, the ability to use the tools of AI, the ability to use data analysis, the ability, to learn new skill sets, right? And you'll find that the first layer is always transferable, regardless of where you work. Right? And it's the second layer. So you have to think about the half-life of skills really, really getting much shorter. And upskilling is going to have to be a process that you do your entire career.
So to what extent then will this career initiative by the labour movement address all these pain points faced by the youths? I mean, what more do you think can also be done?
Okay, I think these initiatives are a great start, really strong. But I think you have to look at it from the perspective of demand and supply. So obviously we're trying to help the young people get into the market with the right set of skills. But at the same time, my organization, SHRI, is working very closely with SMEs to help them with things like job redesign. Because now entry-level skills are not just merely about applying AI or applying, some sort of RPA or workflow process, but rather we need to help companies redesign what an entry-level job looks like,
Do you think that this timeline of 6 months is becoming the new normal?
I think 6 months is an opportunity to pick up skills that you may not have acquired during school. I think it's a great opportunity to explore areas or industries that might be adjacent to what you studied in school. I think it's a great opportunity to do internships. It's a great opportunity to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So rather than seeing the discomfort of being unemployed for 6 months, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to actually grow yourself professionally.
And going back to AI, Ms. Lim, realistically speaking, I mean, which sectors have stopped employing fresh grads or taking in entry-level roles because of AI disruption?
Okay, I think you're looking at 3 main areas. The first area would be any sort of back office function, right? So if you're talking about accounting or finance, logistics related role, anything that require, where you would have a data analyst put in data previously, now all of that is automated. So most back office roles have actually been reduced. The second category would be something that is very, very tech-based, right? Software programming, for example, because now you have AI tools that are able to do the job faster.
Sure.
And then thirdly, in very, very very basic creative endeavors, right? So, for example, a creative agency might hire, instead of hiring a young graphic designer, it could be generated on Canva or some sort of AI platform.
So the vacuum of such junior employees in these sectors that you just mentioned, accounting, financing roles, back office roles, tech-based, creative, what would it mean for the future of the workforce then?
I think we like to have a very future-forward perspective on the workforce, and even for the workplace at SHRI. And we like people to think about succession planning. So young people come with a lot of energy, with a lot of agility and a lot of digital fluency. Now, if you don't give opportunity to young people, the organizers risk stagnating themselves on 2 levels. Firstly, the lack of leadership for the future. So yes, maybe they could hire a more experienced person, but what happens in 10 years where you have a gap in leadership? Secondly, you also have the stagnation of innovation. Young people bring fresh ideas. They bring a different pair of eyes to the old problems. So you lose that perspective.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your insights, Ms. Lim. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. That was Arlene Lim, consultant at the Singapore Human Resources Institute.